Welcome to How to Be 20% Cooler. This was kind of like a new panel idea that I threw together that I was kind of tossing around. Basically, I wanted to teach Brony's social skills. I wanted to teach Brony's how to kind of interact. Like, love you guys. Some of us use a few tips. So yes, that's what this is. How to be 20% cool. How to kind of forgive my voice as well. I yell way too much in these conventions.
Good.
And I don't have a microphone, so this could actually be good. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Interacting with like other people, like. Was it late? I'm very sorry. But all right. Well, anyway, let me introduce myself. My name is Tori Evans. I'm kind of sort of the lead spokesman for the Houston Bronies. Me and Corey would created Ponyville Fest running this year. Definitely come out to that. There'll be Texas Renaissance Festival, 1001 Dreams Weekend. We're just all camping together. It's going to be a fun time. Last year we burned a giant wooden statue of Twilight Sparkle. It's not a bad thing. It looked like she got on fire in the show. And this year we're going to be burning a giant wooden heart for her swarm beams that feed that. So definitely come out to that. We're going to be shameless self-promotion. All right. Long time ago, well, a few years ago, I saw this guy on TV. His name was Magic, and he had a very weird persona. He had like this cowboy hat, and he had this thing. He loved like performing magic and like doing lots of tricks and whatnot. And he had developed sort of the science of like interacting with people and sort of like, grabbing people's attention. And he would do like, he's wearing all these weird things, but it's all a part of the persona. You can like look up like a lot of his stuff, but I know they're not advertised for him. But this guy, something about this guy was very, very like attention grabbing, very, very like charismatic. And he just sort of like took his time and like figured out what it was. It works with other people about how to be charismatic. There's all sorts of books out there on how to do it, but when you look up those books, you'll find that a lot of them are all kind of the same. They'll give you the same tips. They'll give you something called like peacocking. Peacocking is a term where you can like will take one strange item and like wear it. Do something unusual to just instantly grab attention for yourself. Like, let's say you walk into a bar or something and you're wearing like goggles. Like, I'm talking like not any that makes sense, like big swimming goggles or something like that. And people will notice that, and like let's say some nice pretty lady or something like that will come up and say something to you. Like, those goggles are stupid. Or why are you wearing those? Or with bronies, actually. It's actually, I think it's a big thing, because we kind of do this a lot, right? Like a brony t-shirt, we instantly spot at each other. But that's a little bit different. But if you're doing something weird, if you're casual about it, if you're cool with it, then what's really going on is even though that person doesn't like them, like thinks those goggles are dumb, and wearing a goofy hat, like I guess you ever meet somebody who has like a weird particular type of British hat, and they just like very charismatic when you're on them. Even though it was weird, even if you don't like that, when you go over there and talk to them, what you're really doing is it's because you're interested in that person, and that's what peacocking is. But the trick to it really is just doing something, being unique, and grabbing attention, just like an actual peacock, and owning it. And that's really like all I think that this panel kind of is, and all that I've done is just this right here. This is a defined sense of self, and something I try to teach a lot of my clients is one of the tricks is being very charismatic, being able to approach people, and be able to explain things about My Little Pony is to not only be very, very casual about it, actually be okay. I know everybody always tells you, be okay with being a everybody is fine. But no, really, that's kind of the trick. The better that you can get at talking with people and explaining that you like it with casualness in your voice, not so much like doing it, it's like, yeah, I wear a t-shirt, or wearing a t-shirt and owning it. This is my t-shirt. Then the more that people are going to see that and sort of accept that and like, I guess be drawn to it. Okay, but big is like one little thing. Like, say you're wearing an unusual helmet. It's a little bit different. It's kind of hard to find examples of cons because this is crazy. It's pink, blue, yellow, rainbow. But normally, what if this gentleman was wearing like this helmet walking around? Instantly like grab attention. And you think you own it, and you're like, this is who I am. Then people like they love that. It's very, very intriguing. You can grab people and they can start being interested. Like, oh, what's this thing you're wearing? Or like, why are you wearing wings? Actually, before I came up with this outfit, I used to just kind of wear the wings and the horn on my body, and I would just walk around the mall. We were at a convention, and it was inside a mall. I just wanted to go eat. We were, wondering what the world was up. But I would come up to them, I would talk to them, and I would just tell them about myself, or I would tell them what it was with a lot of casualness in my voice. And people would respond to that. So, define sense of self. To me, I think that's the one thing Marines really mean. It's finding out who you are. Sometimes somebody can go their entire life. They can grow up and be older, and never really figure out who you are. Some people find it young, some people find it wherever. Well, whenever you find out who you are, what you want to be, you'll know you'll hit that point when you do something like go to a My Little Pony convention. People are like, you're going to a My Little Pony convention. I don't care, it's none of your business, it's my convention. That's, to me, that's when you like find yourself, when it doesn't matter, what's going on or like what you're doing or what people think. You're just going to do anything. Like for instance, me. Don't think that this is presumptuous, but this is just my own personal defined sense of self. My name is Tori. I love My Little Pony. I'm an air hockey professional. I'm ranked 65th in the world. What else is really weird about it? I'm an inventor. But anyways, see, a lot of these things are really, really small things. They're not really like, for instance, the air hockey thing. It's just something that like Houston actually does have a professional air hockey circuit. It's something weird, something unusual. It's not very difficult, and to be perfectly honest, I'm not very good. At least as far as real pros. But when I tell people that, when I tell you guys that, hey, I'm ranked 65th in the world. You don't really know. So then when I tell you that, like, I'm really, really good. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. I had certain notes, so I was going to go over. Are you guys kind of like getting on good? The thing is, like, in order to be popular or to fit in or grab people's attention, it doesn't matter what you do. Just take what it is and do it. Like, just make it your own. Make it yourself. A lot of people think that, like, in the world now, that, like, anonymity is power. And it is. Anonymity on the internet, not knowing who you are, is definitely really powerful. However, I've always known that identity will always be more powerful. And one of the great things about My Little Pony is that My Little Pony just naturally by itself, the cutie mark and the pony, and everybody has an OC. My Little Pony, My Little Pony promotes identity. You know, will always promote identity. Like every single brony, they have talent. They have something that they do, like music brony. And that's one thing that bronies really got going for. If you notice that, like, people always say that bronies are incredibly, we love our fandom, incredibly, like out in the open, you don't care, and it's like, ooh, you know, we love the show. It's because the show promotes that. It promotes what everyone does well. Everyone has a talent. Every brony is proud to say, like, oh, I'm a wood carver. Look at my wood carvings. And everyone does things. And that's definitely what you need, like, even in your own life, is to find what it is that you do that no one else does, or, you know, things that everyone else does. And, you know, just tell them, I do it better. Trying to remember all the different points that I wanted to go. Like I said, I'm sorry. I've never really run this panel before, and this is my biggest panel this weekend. So, how do you guys know that? Question? Yeah. No, I don't think that would go really, really well. I'm not really sure. Actually, that might. Anyway, when I approach somebody, and for instance, just yesterday, me and a friend of mine, we went to the pub that was over there. There's a whole bunch of people, and they're not the type of people that would, like, kind of wonder what was going on. But I walked into that place with confidence. I walked into this place, and big old leather vest and a leather hat, full of My Little Pony stuff, big wings jutting out in the air. And I just walked in like it was the most normal thing in the world. And instead of being, you know, unusual, they smiled. Like, you know, I noticed that somebody was staring at me wondering if it was not connected about it. And again, the more casual you are, like, if you can build an identity, you know, I kind of wanted to be a biker guy, so I got the leather vest and I do my thing. Whatever it is you want to do, if you want to get like a giant scarf like David Tennant, I'm just talking about a costume. Like if you, this guy, you, come here.
Come here.
Now I know you're doing Fallout.
Yes. Fallout question, yes. Big fan of Fallout. Can't help it. But I am a big fat nerd on the inside, and I don't care.
But even in your daily life, you know, like wearing the gloves, this is not something that people ordinarily do, wearing the jacket, wearing the hat. Even if he wasn't in a costume, he was just walking around. You know what, even wearing your Pip-Boy. If you walk around and you own it, and you walk around and like, what is that? Throw a video. Tell them. Flag might be a bit much for Walmart. But I just wanted to show you because, like, you definitely have a good persona. Like, not that you have to have a persona, but whenever you're interacting with people, if you know who you are, if you are a brony, if you are a wood carver, if you are a musician, whatever it is that you do, make plushies, or if you know what that is ahead of time, so that when people walk up to you, like one of the things we innately ask in ourselves is, who is this person? What do they do? you need to have those questions already answered for you. You know, don't ever hesitate in telling them who you are. Because no matter what it is, if you have that confidence, that people, they're going to be intrigued by that. And the big thing, I think that I kind of want to know, that's right, that was another point I wanted to go over, is detecting interest. It's one of the biggest things about like when you're interacting with people, whether or not to tell them about My Little Pony or the growing thing. Because sometimes, you know, people blame us for being a little bit too aggressive in explaining the fandom. Is whether or not there's a level of interest. There are some times, and here's what's tricky, is sometimes these people, they will have zero interest level, yet they will ask you what's going on. Like if you were wearing a My Little Pony t-shirt, you know, let's say you get some guy who's just in the back of a football, they'd be like, why do you have a pony on your shirt? If you can, like, you really, when I interact with people, I really have to come up with those kind of quick second judgments sometimes. And a lot of times you just, you know, oh, it's just some internet joke. You know, I love to play it off and just say, look, that's an internet thing. A lot of people will just kind of generally drop it really quickly. But that's if I think they don't really have like an interest in it. But if they say something like, oh, like this or this or like Adventure Time or something like that, and they actually show interest, well then you have a person that wants to know. It's always like the key to the game with interacting with people is level of interest. If you're talking with someone and they're asking you more and more questions, that's a go ahead to tell them more. But when people are not as interested and not paying attention, that definitely when you want to kind of drop off and it's like, okay, they're not interested. And that's kind of painful because you want to tell them everything about the fandom. It's like, no, Bronies have done this. But especially like looking in other directions, people will kind of have these expressions. Like if you're not getting that level of interest, then just know that, you know, drop it off. Like, you know, you've done enough at this point. And don't worry, it's not just Bronies. Like Harry Potter fans are pretty bad too. Star Trek fans are pretty bad too. Yeah, super question.
Oh, I was wondering, how do you convert someone who's not a brony under the age of 12 into a brony? I mean, I've been having troubles do that in my school.
Well, yeah, well, that's what I was saying, is like, you have to make them interested. See, you can't just walk up to a person and say like, hey, you should become a brony. Because if you tell them and they're not really interested, then you're just not going to get anywhere with it. I'll tell you what I did in my school and how I converted like some people. Is I loved the blind bags, and I would buy like a bunch of blind bags, and I would turn them into little necklaces. I would give them to my friends. I sort of handed out these necklaces. And so people who did watch the show, they loved their, you know, little Applejack necklace or whatnot. But I didn't tell anybody about the show. I didn't tell anybody about what we are. I just, you know, what did watch the show, we would just wear the necklaces or you wear the t-shirts. And we just went about our ordinary every day, and then people started to ask questions about it. And yeah, there's that interest level. They're like, okay, wait, what's up with all the necklaces? What's going on? Like, My Little Pony, you know. But we kind of sparked their interest. That's that whole peacock, doing something different with your friends. Like, just don't worry, just keep going the way you're going, and don't push it on them. Eventually, if you're patient, if you just keep doing things that are fun, just keep doing like cool brony things or checking out all the videos and stuff that they make, then, you know, whenever your friends ask you about My Little Pony, then you show them the episode. Then you show them about the show. You really need to wait for that person, because if a person is not interested, no matter how hard you try, you're not going to turn it into a brony. The best thing you can do is kind of do things every now and then, kind of like do something cool over here, and, you know, basically kind of grab their attention. I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of rambling. Does this seem helpful? helpful like information?
Yeah.
Yeah, does anybody have any questions? A lot of this is actually based off of stuff that like my dad just taught me. My dad was a very, very charismatic man. People like every area of the land. He was one of those guys that everybody loved him. And he really wouldn't do anything that different. It's just he knew how to read level interest. He knew how to like somebody like anyway, yeah, I'm trying to repeat myself.
That's alright.
What was another thing I wanted to go over?
I got one.
Yes.
If you influence someone positively, does that always have a good come out, like a good result?
If you influence somebody positively,
watch a little kid who came from a bad home.
That's easy. Like, yeah, I've had, for instance, Samantha Bennett, who's in the dealer. She told me like just a few days before this happened that the only reason she's in there is because of a meetup that Corey put together where we had a silent auction. And she made a few things and people bought that. And that gave her the confidence to get into art and start to sell things. So yeah, that's justification's amazing. That's the that's the torch that you wave, like heading off in the battle. Definitely. Chairs then. I remember when we first had a meetup, I was like talking to everybody, and I would jump up on chairs and tables and start talking to them. Another thing, it's kind of like sort of this persona now. Everybody knows who you're from. Is jumping up on tables and jumping on chairs. I'm already on stage, so it's a little bit redundant to hop up on a table chair. But you need to not feel bad about that. It will feel like, hey, look at me, or whatever. And that's a tough thing to judge, when you're doing something eccentric or just being annoying. But you should definitely practice, be out there, introduce yourself to people. Honestly, when a lot of this sort of persona started with me being sort of a spokesman and talking with people, it just went to, there was my first year, I went back to Lone Star College. And when I walked up to people, I just straight up, we were kind of chatting, and somebody said something about the top of the day. I was kind of asking them about the weather a little bit, and then once I had established a few words, I throw my hand. Hi, I'm Torio. And I would be standing around, and people would be over here, and I'm doing my own thing. And I heard something that I kind of know about, go over and get me, and I was like, hi, Victoria, nice to meet you. Next thing you know, everybody at the college knows who I am. It seemed strange, and I was like, wondering people we know everybody. Don't know, I just introduced them. To me, it's like I introduced myself to 5 or 6 people. But I kept doing that again and again and again and again. And everybody at the college knows who I am. It's the same with promos, exactly. Introduce yourself, get yourself out there.
Be professional.
Yeah, there's a very fine line. I think that's the problem I'm having, is because it's, and that's what this panel was supposed to be. It was supposed to be, what's the difference between, being weird. Actually, this panel had a different name. It was, how to be creepy awesome instead of just creepy. And that's a very fine line. I'll tell you, and it's, you're gonna make mistakes. I'll tell you, I freaked everybody out when you mentioned Bernie Fest. I made a tail for my outfit out of my own hair. Stop. There. Explain. A long time ago, my hair was about this long, and I decided so I had to get it cut off. But instead I was going to either sell it or give it to charity or one of those things because it was of that length. So I had a barber, cleaned it, very clean, went straight to a barber. They cut all my hair off and I sealed it and make sure it was nice. I didn't end up sending it off to any sort of group organization. I didn't try to sell it at all. I just kind of set it off to the side and I never really did anything with it. My plan was to eventually turn it into a personal ponytail, like add to my own hair, make my hair longer and crazier. But then the whole My Little Pony thing popped up, and I got the whole idea to turn it into a tail. So I grabbed a hot glue gun, and then I wore it. And one person, well, I told people about it, and they would freak out. Oh man. Oh man, it's like just telling people about it, they would freak out. But I wore it, and it was one person, and he was sitting down. He does this. I'm gonna go take it off. So yeah, you're gonna have those mistakes. Like I wish I could afford my tail, but it's just too freaky for people. So sometimes, even though something like seems more neat, like yeah, there are limits to being crazy and whatnot. That one was just too much even for me. Freaked everyone out. But it is a difficult line. It's very it's sometimes it's really hard to tell. But honestly, if you want to be that attention grabber, like what I was saying, like if you want to do that, you're going to be on the verge of being cool and being crazy. And that's a very, very fine line. And the key is owning it. People all the time, you'll see it like when they mess something up or they trip on the stairs and they end up flying and they land on their feet. And it seems like they did it on purpose. Well, some people will shy away and then some people will just own it as far as everyone else is concerned. They did that on purpose. Always, always own it. And even when you mess up, own it. It's tough without examples. I had some stories like that. Again, does anybody have any questions? Like, anybody have anything difficult like with interacting with people or find it challenging? Like, how many shy people do you have? Like, would you declare yourself as shy? How many people would say they don't really have like a lot of friends? Maybe this is a bad idea for like growing community, but because we do promote a lot of these things that I'm talking about are kind of things that are meant for general people and stuff that My Little Pony itself does kind of cover up for and fix. It gives bronies confidence, whether or not they're wearing a rainbow hat or like a blue wig or something like that. If you notice, a lot of bronies have like very, very unusual looks to them, fedoras or whatnot, and like do all kinds of crazy things, and they're cool about it. They're intriguing. Definitely learn a lesson from that. Honestly, I feel like I'm copying off other bronies. People think I'm unique, but really, I kind of just wanted to look like Dusty Cat, sort of. No, I mean, couldn't really do the handlebar mustache. But I kind of felt that, like, I'm not really a biker, but I kind of wanted to do this sort of biker thing. I kind of fell into this. And then after that, we have another brony in our own group that he had this really, really cool sense of self, this great look, because he had this little scooter. He had like a Vespa, a matching jacket, a matching helmet. He looked cool. And so, like, a lot of my look, I was actually kind of modeling off that guy. Okay, let me all night. Here's an interesting thing. One of the things about developing an interesting persona that's going to make people interested is breaking up your shadows. I know it sounds like I'm jumping subjects, but it doesn't really matter. Does anybody know Bob Ross?
Big on it.
Bob Ross, the Afro Angel.
Yeah.
All right, you know the happy little tree guy. You guys know that when he was after he was doing for like 20 or 30 years, he hated that Afro. He didn't like wearing the blue button-up shirts or whatever he wore anymore. But he knew, he understood brand recognition, and that's basically what you're doing when I say you're coming up with a sense of self. Is you're coming up with a brand, you're coming up with an icon for people to recognize. And he understood that when you saw that Afro, like on his paintbrush supplies, that you were going to recognize him and buy it. So if he had gotten rid of that, it wouldn't have really been the same guy. What would Mr. Rogers found his sweatshirts? And a lot of my bronies, they do not recognize me. That was the story I can tell. I was walking around Unicon and I read this and with a hat and I was interacting with people. The next morning, I got that on my name and I woke up and so walking around and I decided not to put the stuff on. And I just walked around the con, just not wearing it. And no one said anything to me. And I walked around the whole con. And then I came back and said, oh, well, I better put my stuff back on. I put on my hat, I put on my vest, and immediately somebody ran up. Tori, where have you been? And I just walked past the guy. Yeah, that whole Superman glasses thing, take off the glasses and nobody recognizes you, that works. I've worn superhero tights before. I would take off the glasses, slip my hair back, and put on tights. People I knew didn't recognize me for a second. So definitely having an identity, having a persona, is like, it's a lot stronger than you think it is. And here's a good example. Like I was saying about shadow, breaking your shadow. There's a thing for character creation. And again, like when you're making yourself or like coming up with an identity, you don't have to do anything. But a lot of this is character creation. Like a lot of like what I do to kind of like define my own identity, go out there and talk to people, is I just use ordinary video game character creation. You can use those tips. So like all the tips you learn from the writing and also things that happen with a good character. But there's a thing in the industry with character creation is using shadow. All of the characters that persist, that we know and identify very well, can be identified by their shadows. Are you going to confuse Sonic Shadow with Mario? No. Like if you see Zelda, Samus, all these characters, they're identified by their shadow alone. And the shadow of the person, like if you were to make a silhouette, if you can recognize that person, then that's what sticks in your head. Like if you were to look at everyone at the con shadow, you would definitely recognize certain cosplayers, and I would stand out like sort of. He would stand out. Hats are really good for that. Having yourself like a unique hat or a defined look. But the more you can break up your shadow, you can do this in ordinary casual life. But that really helps to people remember you because you're doing something different. You don't have to, but that's it's a good thing to keep in mind as far as like coming up with sort of like persona. Okay, now when I say coming up with persona, you don't have to come up with a sort of persona. You don't have to come up with it. But what you're doing is you're doing that with yourself. My dad taught me a lesson one time, and he was asking me about Trigon, and he was asking me all these questions, and I could tell him everything about the character Bash. I could tell him, Bash is the main character of this one show. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But I could tell him what he does, what he eats, what he was into, all the little details of his character. And then he started asking me about myself, and I didn't have any answer. What do you do? You know, and that's why now all the things that I say when I introduce people, it's like they're not really asking questions, but if people were to ask me, who I am, what do I do, I could tell them in an instant. I'm I'm Marine. All of these different labels that like, I stack up, like things that I'm confident and I love, I'm really just giving it to them. So if you know who you are, it will just naturally come out. It's not tricky. Like, you don't even, I mean, definitely, you know, interacting with people, it takes practice. It actually takes some skill. You have to try it. But if you know who you are and you know the answers to these questions, like ask yourself, like, who are you? What is it you do? If you know the answers to that, it will come through. You don't need to do anything. And that's what people find intriguing. Like, people, like, if you don't know who you are, people aren't going to find you interesting. They're like, now, you know, bronies are very just naturally confident about My Little Pony and what we're into. So that really, really helps a lot of them. That's what helps the fandom grow so fast. Excuse me. Does it seem like good information so far?
Yeah.
Still no questions? Yeah, don't worry about it. Don't worry. What time? Well, it is 12.
Yeah, 12 minutes.
I've gone over my time. I'm sorry.
It's alright.
Well, again, I apologize one more time. I was not properly prepared for this panel, but please, again, it's another panel idea I came up with, like teaching growing social skills. Please give me some feedback, whether or not you think it's a good idea, long and boring, and shut up, whatever it is. Definitely, please let me know. But thank you and enjoy your time.